Welcome back. You're watching AM Agenda. In Canberra at the moment, the focus is on the coalition, or their lack of, the coalition splitting apart. Perhaps a conscious uncoupling from the Nationals and the Liberal Party. Joining me now is Independent MP Dai Le to see what you think about this conscious uncoupling. Dai, is it a disaster for the right side of politics?
Look, I think what we need to really consider is the lack of opposition in the parliament, and that is the concern. I think to have a strong, formidable opposition to keep the government of the day accountable, and that is more of a concern. And I believe as a result of this, uncoupling, this kind of separation, the Nats and the Libs, they'll be probably spending a lot of time, obviously, to reflect. They need to reflect on where each party stand within the Australian landscape and the political landscape, who they represent. And that is, after every election, such as this, major, fall out for the Liberals, then it's time for them to reflect on what they really stand, their values. And, every failures, you need to take the time to reflect on your failures. But I think they need to also, as, major parties, they need to really reflect on the Australian people, the public, and how do we ensure that the government is kept accountable. And therefore, I think independents like myself and others will have to probably step up and ensure that the voices of our communities are heard, and that no doubt with the majority that the Labor government has been given in the House through the seats they've won, they will probably be pushing through policies that, the ramifications of the many major policies they might try to push through.
So you think because the opposition is diminished in its numbers and therefore its power, that independents like yourself are going to need to step up? Do you think it also gives more power, more of a platform to independents like yourself and the Teals?
Look, I don't know. It will give us more platform, but certainly we need to play a very constructive role to ensure that the government is kept accountable. And as you know, if people understand how numbers work in the parliament, with the 93 seats in the lower house, the government don't really need our votes to pass on any legislations. But that doesn't mean
so essentially, sorry to interrupt you, Dai, but you sound worried that this diminished opposition, this breakup, actually gives the government more power, even when they've got 94 seats.
Oh, look, I think it will give them, the Albanese, the Prime Minister and the Labor government complete free rein in what they do, I believe. And therefore it is a concern. And I think we need to look at and, ask that question, who will be keeping the government of the day accountable? And I don't know if the media, mainstream media, will do that, because it didn't seem like they questioned any of the policies that the government took to the election. And it will be concerning, and I am concerned for southwestern Sydney, western Sydney communities, middle Australians, those mums and dads out there working and struggling to still provide for their families, the small businesses that are struggling to keep their business open and to employ people. There are still so many issues. The lack of nurses to meet the 24/7 nurses legislations that the government pushed through, the lack of funding to ensure that there are doctors and nurses, especially in areas like southwest Sydney, like in my area, Fowler, the lack of focus on the cultural diversity needs here in Western Sydney. So there are many issues that I think that are so fundamental to ensure that we have a thriving, productive society. And I am concerned that we will not have a strong opposition with the split. But I hope that in the time that they take to reflect, in terms of what they stand for, their values, what they're going to fight for Australia and Australians, that they do it reasonably quickly in order to, be a voice that will fight for a Middle Australia.
Dai Le, always good to talk to you. Long way to go till the next election. Long way before either of them get back into the party of government. It's certainly not going to happen if they remain split like they are at the moment. A conscious uncoupling.